Hello friends, Nikon has just announced 3 new items that are both exciting and interesting. So I wanted to go through these things just for a few minutes and chat about my thoughts on them and how these new things fit into the ecosystem that is photography today. I have notes. I took some notes. So the first thing, it's the D6. The D6 is going to be a top-level DSLR, and this was a development announcement, not an announcement of the D6 is ready and it will be available on such and such date. No, just a development announcement. Likewise, an f-mount lens, the 120-300 millimeter f2.8, again, development only announcement. And then the 24 millimeter f1.8 Z-mount lens, not a development announcement, and announcement of it will be available in October. Let's go ahead and start with the f-mount stuff, the development stuff. So with the introduction of the Z series, Nikon's new Z-mount, the full frame mirrorless bodies and lenses, a lot of viewers have been asking me, well, is Nikon gonna keep making DSLRs? Are they gonna keep introducing f-mount lenses? And I haven't known. But now we know, at least that they are still working on at least one body and at least one lens. So there's that. I personally think they'll probably toe the line, kind of do both for at least a little while longer, for whatever that's worth. I don't have any inside scoop here. That's just what I imagine that they're going to do. I did wonder what Nikon was going to do ahead of the Olympics that are coming up in 2020. What were they going to do? Were they going to continue to use that last D5 series body there, or were they going to introduce something new? And now we know. They haven't said when this thing will be released, but I can assume that it will be ready in time for Tokyo in 2020. They need to have a presence there, even though the top of the line DSLRs are very expensive, and I would imagine that they aren't the #1 best-selling body for Nikon in general. They still need to have a presence there because just the brand recognition will, it'll trickle down to the lower end DSLRs and even the point and shoot cameras. So, also I think, maybe they could have rushed a mirrorless full frame body that is super fast for the Olympics, but I also think that they want to put their best foot forward at the Olympics. They don't want to leave anything to chance. So I think having the legacy of the DSLRs for them was probably the smart way to go. I mean, it probably lets us know how far along they are in having a real fast body too, right? I don't know, maybe. So there's that. And who knows, maybe in 2 years or 4 years, the next, couple of Olympicses, maybe we'll see a full frame Nikon super fast mirrorless body. And then the 120-300 f2.8 lens, that's interesting. It's particularly good for sports in my thought, because it's good for low light at being able to open up to f2.8, but also having that little bit of range to zoom is really handy in sports, because if an athlete is moving towards you or moving away from you, you can zoom a little bit to keep them in the frame and to keep that composition that you're looking for. So that's really handy. I expect it'll be a good lens, like I said, we don't know when these will be introduced. We don't know what the prices are going to be, but we'll see. In fact, we don't know anything about the D6. The D6 will be fast, right? But we don't really know anything beyond that specs-wise. Megapixels, how many frames per second, autofocus stuff, we don't know. So there's that. And then let's talk about the 24 millimeter f1.8S lens for the Nikon Z mount. I'm sure it will be just as boringly high quality as the 35mm f1.8 S lens that I have. They also have a 50mm f1.8 lens available, which I haven't used. That's the only Z lens that I haven't used at this point, except for the 85mm f1.8 S lens for Z series that was recently introduced, and I will actually have that in my hands hopefully later this week to try out. All of the Z lenses that I've used, which is all but 2 at this point, have been stellar. So I would expect nothing less out of this 24mm. I know that some folks have kind of complained about the size of these primes because they are bigger than like the DSLR versions, but they're very lightweight and they're very high quality. So I don't have any complaints there. Let's see. Oh, and that, they say, will be available mid to late October for just under $1,000 here in the US. I'll put a link down below to where you can hopefully find out, the information for you wherever you are. These introductions are interesting to me. These 3 announcements are interesting to me because I have just gone whole hog on the Z series. Depending on where you are, you may have no idea what I mean when I say whole hog. What I mean is that I've really gone and purchased almost everything in the line. I have both of the Z bodies. Raymond and I use both of them. I typically use the Z7 and he typically uses the Z6, but sometimes we trade. And we have the 24 to 70 f4 lens. We have the 35mm f1.8 lens. We have the 24 to 70mm f2.8 lens. We do not own the 50mm or this new 85. So I have recently sold off a bunch of my F-mount gear. We do have the FTZ adapters for the Z cameras. And we do use the lenses. I use the 200 to 500mm f5.6 f-mount lens on that body, probably the most out of all of my f-mount lenses that I have. But I sold a couple of f-mount lenses recently, so I personally am kind of whittling down my f-mount collection. I do have a couple of DSLRs back there, but I'm really going the way of mirrorless. It's a choice that Raymond and I have consciously made, is okay, this is what we're going to do. Not to say that, watch next week, I'm going to go buy a DSLR now and prove myself wrong, but that's what we're doing. That's our current situation. But there are some things that I would like to see out of Nikon at this point. I would like to see them, I guess, focus more on mirrorless. I mean, it's fine, and I think it's probably was necessary for them to introduce this D6, this super fast body, but I think there's things in the Z series that are going to need to be addressed for it to flourish. And I want it to flourish. I'm rooting for it. Not just because I own the stuff, but also because I've been a Nikon user for a long time. And I do want to see them succeed in this arena. But I also want to see a faster Z body. I am borrowing the Sony Alpha 9 right now. I've used it before, but I'm borrowing it for a longer term right now because I am interested in a faster body. And let me tell you, that Alpha 9 is darn fast. Everything is fast about it. So I would like to see Nikon get there. Likewise with autofocus, having used a lot of different cameras, having used the Nikon mirrorless stuff, having used the Sony mirrorless stuff, Sony's autofocus, at least in terms of tracking and like the AI, the face detect, and all of that, it is more advanced than the Nikon. Now, if you aren't into tracking or like face detect or eye detect, it's totally fine. It's totally good autofocus. I have used these cameras extensively in a lot of different situations. The Nikon Z cameras are great, but Sony's autofocus in general is class leading. So I would like to see them get there. Like, do it. I want to see them get there. And then I would also like to see some f1.4 primes. You know, we've got this Z mount. They said, hey, Z mount, wider apertures. But what we have so far is a handful of f1.8 primes, and that's fine. I want them to utilize the capabilities that they're saying this Z mount has. And also telephoto. Where's my 70 to 200 f2.8? I want it, because those, for those of you who haven't used the Z mount or haven't watched any of my videos about it, the Z mount lenses are stellar on the Z mount bodies for continuous autofocus during video. That's my favorite thing about them, because they are quick and silent, and I can use face detect for them. So there's that. The last roadmap I saw for the Z mount stuff said that there are still lenses coming this year. I think the 70 to 200 was among those. I can't quite remember, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm interested to see what Nikon will do. And that's it. Those are the announcements that were just made. I am curious to see what you all think. I would love to hear from you down in the comments. And I will put links to all of this stuff as the links are available down in the description, and I'll probably pin a comment down there as well, so that you all can see, you know, how much everything is going to cost as it becomes available. And yeah, that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.